Hi, everybody, and welcome to the very first episode of the Littles News Briefing with Charlotte Pence Bond. That's me. I'm really excited to welcome you to this new show where I'm going to be giving you a news briefing. You might have noticed that your parents have been watching the news a little more lately, and maybe they watch it at night when President Donald Trump gives a press briefing. Well, a briefing is basically just an update on information about whatever's going on in the world at the time. Right now, you're probably hearing a lot about the coronavirus. So I'm going to be giving you all a little briefing every couple of days on the coronavirus, what we can do to stay safe, what the guidelines are that we should be following, and I'm also going to talk to experts and get answers to questions from kids just like you. You've probably been hearing people talk a lot about the coronavirus. Well, what is a coronavirus? A coronavirus is one of many different types of viruses, which is something that can make us feel kind of sick. It also exists in animals and humans. Sometimes it can be transmitted from an animal to a human, which is what happened in the case of this coronavirus that we're dealing with right now. You might have heard the term COVID-19 lately. COVID-19 is just the name of the disease that this coronavirus causes. I'm really excited also to be able to interview some experts on the coronavirus. So I'm going to start with somebody who's very, very special to me, my dad, Vice President Mike Pence. A few months ago, President Trump asked my dad to form a White House coronavirus task force, which is basically a group of people who know a lot about diseases and pandemics, which is what we're dealing with right now. A pandemic is a disease that has spread across many continents and many countries. I asked my dad all about what guidelines we should be following right now so that we can stay safe. And I also asked him some questions that you all had about when you get to go back to school and see your friends again. So let's take a look. Welcome, Dad, to the first episode of the Littles News Briefing. So I have felt very calmed and encouraged by seeing you on TV at the end of the day, and it's become kind of a ritual for me. But I know you're also my dad, so that's probably part of it. But I think it's nice for people to be able to hear from you and the president and the whole task force. So I have some questions. We've had some kids send questions in that will be at the end of the show. And I have basically right now just want to ask you about the guidelines. So what are the guidelines as of today, right now, that kids should be following with their parents?
Well, thanks, Charlotte. It really is great to be with you on this podcast. We're really proud of you, and what a great idea to make sure the children around the country understand the coronavirus and what they can do to keep themselves and their family and their friends and their community safe. And that's exactly what the president and all of us in the federal government have been working to do since early this year, when the very first cases of the coronavirus came to the United States. The president stood up what's called the White House Coronavirus Task Force all the way back in January. And he brought together the heads of our health departments and all of our agencies that could develop the guidelines and the proposals and take the action to protect the American people and equip states and communities around the country to be able to meet the needs of people that may contract the coronavirus. And it was exactly the president's coronavirus guidelines to America that we first unveiled as 15 days to slow the spread. And now the president has extended that to 30 days to slow the spread. And there are just a lot of good ideas for good health. You know, the coronavirus is a virus. It's more contagious than the flu, but you can combat it and prevent its spread in your home and among your friends the very same way that you prevent the spread of other infectious diseases like Wash your hands on a regular basis. If you feel sick, tell your parents that you feel sick. Or if a friend says that they're feeling sick, urge them to stay home and tell their parents. And then you've all seen that your parents are making a point to follow the guidelines that have to do with what's called social distancing, making sure that we keep as much as 6 feet of space between ourselves and another person, just in case they or we might actually have the virus. Because the important thing to say here is that social distancing is a way of stopping the spread of the virus. That's why we've asked people not to gather in groups of more than 10, to use the drive-through at your favorite local restaurant as opposed to eating in the restaurant, and to avoid travel and moving through areas like airplanes where you may have to be around a lot of people. It's all about the kind of common sense ideas that just make it hard for any virus to spread. And so washing hands, personal hygiene, use your arm if you happen to cough and not your hand, because then you won't have anything on your hand that you could spread. And maybe the most important thing is for children to know that it's the most vulnerable among us that we are most concerned with. The truth is that for most healthy people, including healthy kids, the threat that the coronavirus to your health is fairly low. If you contract the coronavirus, you might have flu-like symptoms, or in some cases, no symptoms at all. But what we know so far is that for people that have underlying health issues, particularly the elderly who may have a serious underlying health issue, the coronavirus can represent a real threat to serious illness or worse. And so to all the kids that are looking in, I would just say to put these guidelines into practice, urge your friends to do it, but be especially attentive to your grandmother, your grandfather, to the wonderful elderly people that are in your life. Be sure and wash your hands, practice the social distancing so that we make sure and keep them healthy and do our part to prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
Thanks. I think that's really helpful for kids to hear. It's some questions we got, you answered most of them through that, but a lot of kids want to know when they can go back to school. And since the summer's coming up, that might, change a little bit since they'll be on summer break. But what have you been telling kind of the media or people that are asking you that question?
Well, many states around the country have asked children and parents to learn at home. And I just want to say thank you to all the kids that are still doing your homework, that are taking time every single day to do your studies. I also want to encourage all the kids looking on to tell your teachers how much you appreciate them. Charlotte knows her mom, and my wife, Karen Pence, has been a school teacher her whole life. She's actually an art teacher now at a school not far from our nation's capital. And she was working just as hard as all of our teachers have been working to make sure you kids can have your studies, to have your assignments, to have your materials to do your work. In fact, earlier this week, Mrs. Pence and your sister, Audrey, were over at Emmanuel Christian School where she teaches, and they were loading up 500 different bins of art supplies that parents then came by, loaded in the car, and took home for the kids. And she's been watching online as so many students are posting their art projects and cheering them on. But having a teacher in the family, and you know how much your mom loves teaching, I just think it'd be a great thing if the kids around the country just to express a word of thanks to your teachers who are teaching from home. And in many cases, teachers have families of their own, but they're still making sure that even while we have this necessary separation, while we work to put the coronavirus behind us, that we're all still learning. And I want to commend each and every one of you kids that are still doing your studies, and know that you can learn anywhere. You can learn at your kitchen table just as well as you can learn in the classroom. And so keep it up.
That's great. I want to wrap it up and just ask if you have anything else that you would want to tell kids, ways that they can be a part of defeating the coronavirus, of making sure that our country stays strong, stays together.
Well, I just want to say to all the kids that are looking on that I'm just so proud of the American people and the way we've all come together and responded to the coronavirus. I mean, the way people are putting into practice the president's coronavirus guidelines for America. I mean, we're seeing some encouraging news. I mean, when you look around the country, you all see it on the news. In places like Washington and California, we've seen the spread of the coronavirus really be at a low level and steady. And we're even beginning to see some progress in areas like New York and New Jersey and Louisiana and parts of Michigan that have been impacted by the coronavirus. I mean, it's all working because people like you and people like your parents are putting into practice the 30 days to slow the spread. And I just want to encourage you to continue to do that, and know that we're going to continue to bring every effort of the federal government to bear on making sure that we put the coronavirus in the past as quickly as possible, that we develop new medicines. They're called therapeutics, that if people get the coronavirus in the future, they'll be able to get medicine that makes them feel better and feel better very quickly. And we're working right now on developing vaccines, just like the flu vaccine that many of you have gotten, that someday down the road, and we hope by the end of this year or sometime early next year, we'll actually have a vaccine that millions of Americans can take and not have to worry about the coronavirus. My word to all of you kids is we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this because this is a strong and compassionate country, because the American people have been looking after one another just like you kids have done. And I just want to encourage you to know that one of my favorite old sayings is, this too shall pass, and this will pass. And so I want to encourage you to make the most of this time. Do your studies. Enjoy the time that you have with your family. Where you'll look back, I really believe in the years ahead, you'll look back on this time as a time that your families all across your community, your state, and this nation did what needed to be done to put the coronavirus behind us and put the health of America first. And we did it together. So keep it up, kids. We're all proud of you.
Thanks, Dad, and thank you for all that you're doing, and proud of you. Love you. Thanks for being on.
Proud of you too, Shar.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed that interview with my dad, Vice President Mike Pence. I really enjoyed doing it. Now let's hear from kids all over America just like you.
Hello, I'm Sheena from Maryland, and I want to ask a question about the coronavirus. Why can't my friends come over for a play date?
Hi, Shayna, and thank you so much for your question. I know it's really hard not to be able to see our friends right now, but if you follow the guidelines and we stay away from some of the people that we really care about right now, we'll make sure not to get other people sick, and we'll all be able to hang out together really soon. You heard my dad talking about how important it is that we make sure our teachers and educators know how much they mean to us right now. So my Littles News Briefing challenge for you this week is to write a thank you note to a teacher in your life. Our teachers are working really hard right now, and a lot of them are home too. So let's show them how much we appreciate them. Send them a thank you note, a letter, and send us an email telling us what you did. You can put it in a video or a picture, or you can just write out what it was, and you might make it onto the show. Do you have questions that you want answered? Get a parent's help and email a video of yourself asking the question to littlesnewsbriefing@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed the very first episode of Little's News Briefing, and be sure to subscribe below so you can get all the updates on upcoming episodes. We'll see you back here soon.